Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I rise in support of the bill. The Society's website says that the earliest piece of legislation relating to societies was the Dangerous Societies Suppression Ordinance in 1869. It had the aim of eliminating secret societies in the Straits Settlement. But since then, the types of societies we see has expanded as more ground-up initiatives and small groups come together and formalize, a society being seen as a simpler and more straightforward framework of governance and reporting than, say, a private limited entity. Based on a simple search in the past year between October 2022 and 2023, we have seen over 100 societies registered, serving various sectors such as the community, hobbyists, arts, and sports. Many form a dynamic part of our social fabric. I have 3 brief points on the bill. Firstly, the amendments relating to the automatic registration route, which will now permit the registrar to seek further information and reject an application in the event where the society, if registered, is, and I quote, likely to be used for unlawful purposes or for purposes prejudicial to public peace, welfare, or good order in Singapore, or contrary to Singapore's national interests or security. So the automatic route allows for expediency and administrative ease. It would appear to some that, given the amendments, perhaps we should have just one route that is non-automatic, and the registrar can ask the relevant questions if necessary. While it is of course critical for our system to have sufficient checks and balances and hold malicious actors accountable, and I agree with the overall ethos of the bill, it is also important to communicate with potential applicants and ensure that their applications are not being preemptively concluded. I understand that in the last 5 years, an average of 5 applications were rejected yearly. I would thus like to ask the Minister about the scope and interpretation of purposes prejudicial to public peace, welfare, or good order, and any key principles of those which are likely to be rejected, and hope that this can be outlined for greater clarity. Secondly, the bill specifies the registrar's ability to request certain societies to amend their rules as a condition for registration. Failure to do so can impede an application. Section 11A of the Societies Act outlines the grounds on which the registrar considers for an application to change the rules. I understand that this would be similar to my previous point, would be contrary to Singapore's national interests or security, would be prejudicial to public peace, welfare, or good order, or contrary to the Act. However, these are fairly broad, and it would be helpful if the Minister could provide greater clarity on the criteria. How far will the government intervene in recommending the language or the rules to be included? Thirdly, as we continue our digitalization pursuit, I'm also heartened to note the amendments which cater for the electronic transmission of service documents. Such amendments relate to enhancing convenience and bring greater accessibility. Further, I appreciate the implementation of a one-stop portal for societies, which are also charities, to submit their annual submissions in streamlining the process. Does the Ministry have a timeline, as many are looking forward to this one-stop portal? Organisations such as the Singapore Cancer Society, Silver Ribbon Singapore, and Cornerstone Community Services are societies with charitable and social purposes that do a lot for our community here in Singapore. So one final point of clarity to ask the Ministry regarding office bearers. It is important for societies to be governed well by their office bearers. Are there any opportunities for office bearers to receive governance training or any minimum age and experience to be an office bearer of a society? On a small note, I also note that individuals with prior convictions may not be permitted to hold office in societies. Given our push in advocating for second chances, and many of us see the hard work and determination of ex-offenders who have turned over a new leaf and want to support others in turn, for example, as a desister, what possibilities are there and channels for such individuals to become leaders of such groups for a fair assessment of their suitability? To conclude, sir, many such organisations first start off as an informal, smaller, ground-up initiative and later put forth an application under this Act because a form of formal recognition as a legal entity is helpful before they can access grants and funding for their organisation to be sustainable in the long term. Choosing to register as a legal entity, in this case as a society, is no easy step, as many of the members are volunteers with full-time jobs. It is crucial to ensure that the process is simple, efficient, and friendly to encourage a thriving people sector. where like-minded people passionate about causes such as the environment, mental health, youth empowerment, for example, can exchange ideas, advocate for their concerns, and take action. I hope more can be done on a wider level to support groups such as this who choose to take the step of registration, including potentially considering a new type of legal entity for such cause-based ground-up initiatives. Notwithstanding the above, Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the bill.